All right, hey everybody. I'm Sukaba. You're one of your new coaches for VBL Season 5. And I got inspired by all those cool draft review videos and tier lists that you guys are putting together. So I thought I'd try my hand at a little draft review for my first ever draft league draft, right? So yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about like what I was thinking with my team, my strategy going in, and I think it might be an interesting perspective from someone that is a, you know, experienced Pokemon player, but not necessarily an experienced draft league player, right? I'm brand new to this idea of a draft league. I've heard about them before. I've always wanted to try one, but I've never actually done one or looked into what strategy, goes into for that. So I've been doing a lot of research the last couple weeks to try to prepare for this draft. But yeah, I think going in, I kind of had the perspective that I generally wanted to have a top heavy team. Like I definitely decided that before the draft. I was just looking at the tiers for this game, right? Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, and it's a lot shallower as far as the power level compared to something like Gen 8 or National Dex, Sword and Shield. So since I don't really have experience with a lot of draft leagues in the past, I wanted to do something safe and comfortable by picking strong Pokemon that I have used before, if possible, right? I felt that if I tried too hard to just make a well-balanced team with Mons that would be good in theory, I would have trouble lacking the strategy to actually lay it all out. So I kind of wanted to play it a little safe in that regard. So I was hoping at pick number 5 that Togekiss would fall into my lap, and I was very happy to see that Togekiss was available at 5. So that was my first pick, right? So obviously Togekiss, valuable 20-point Pokemon, right? So there's a reason for that. This Pokemon is obviously it's maybe even be the strongest in the current meta of Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. What I really liked is, since I knew I was going to do like a sort of top heavy draft, I liked the versatility Togekiss could provide me as a number 1 pick, right? My first pick. Because I feel like if you're going to pick a Pokemon first in your first or second round, it should be one that you're bringing to 90% of games, right? And what's an interesting aspect of a draft league that I never considered before looking into this was that when you're running like the ladder or at a tournament, for VGC, you don't really get to prep specifically knowing your opponent's Pokemon, right? You kind of just have to make sure you cover all your bases and, for the general meta that is going on. So I kind of felt that Togekiss provided me an opportunity to where I get a strong Pokemon that can lead my team, and I also have a lot of options as to what I can do with it. Because with my top-heavy team, there's not a lot that you have to plan for. It's kind of expected, right? What Pokemon you think I'm going to bring. So by having Togekiss here, I could use it as a follow me to get my other Pokemon set up. I could use it as a super luck high damage dealer with pretty good special attack, 120. And for me, I've just had a lot of success throughout playing Pokemon with Togekiss. I mean, obviously, I had to go with the mascot pick. But even in like VGC Sword and Shield, I've had success in Series 11 and even a little bit of Series 12 using Togekiss. Obviously, in the early formats of VGC, it was a really strong Dynamax Pokemon. So I've just had a lot of experience with this Pokemon. It's one of my favorites. So I thought it was a pretty safe first pick, right? Redirection was hard to find in this draft. So I thought by getting that out of the way early, I'd give myself a lot of options for later. Yeah, so with my second pick, right, I was hoping that Gengar would be there around the bend when I picked next. And sure enough, Gengar fell into my lap, right? So 16 points for Gengar. I really like this Pokemon in Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. I've had a lot of success with it on the ladder. I think its combination of like speed and utility with also a pretty devastating special attack stat of 130 leaves this Pokemon kind of underrated as far as the current metagame. I really think people underestimate what this Pokemon can do. As far as utility, right? You get 110 speed taunt, right? You can use it as a Trick Room Mon. You know, if you want to reverse, if like let's say your opponent puts up Tailwind, you know, you have that option. Not a lot of people expect some of the tools this guy has available. I really think it's kind of underrated. It even gets Will-O-Wisp if you wanted really fast burn, if I was playing against a lot of physical attackers. But also, that's only one side of what he can do, right? He also gets pretty good coverage moves. Energy Ball is a good one. It can get Dazzling Gleam. I don't know why you'd really run that, but mainly Shadow Ball and Sludge Bomb as well can just dish out heavy damage to fairy types, especially, because I feel like a lot of people went pretty heavy with fairies in this draft. There's not a lot of good steel type Pokemon or poison type Pokemon that can deal with those fairies. Gengar kind of provides me with that niche. So I really thought this was a valuable pick at 16, and it's also just another Mon that I was comfortable using. I think it goes well with Togekiss as well. It's to kind of like form the baseline for my team. 2 special attackers to start off, and once again, you know, I talked about it with the last pick. Just giving me, with my plan to have a top-heavy team, I was giving myself a cushion of sort so that I would be able to do multiple things, right? You expect me to bring the same 4, 5, 6, 7 Pokemon. Gengar, you know, I could turn it into a utility Pokemon, a really fast heavy hitter. I could run Specs, Scarf, you know. There's a lot of options there. And it's nice to have the neutral move in Shadow Ball, which doesn't have many resistances or immunities, you know. So, yeah, I really liked Gengar. I'm really happy I got it. So then, with my third pick, you know, I honestly wasn't really sure what direction I was going to go. And I was not intending or expecting Garchomp to make it to that pick, but when he was available, I really just couldn't resist the idea of what kind of power this could bring to my team. So yeah, I mean, when I saw Garchomp there, I really had to think about it, because that's, you know, almost, actually more than half my budget spent on 3 Pokemon. And, you know, like I said, I've never done a draft league before, and I know that there's a reason that not everyone in the league does this strategy, right? It's maybe it's hard to pull off. It's nice to have the variety of among your team, you know. But I really just felt that I wanted to be as comfortable as possible, and Togekiss and Garchomp is something that I've run on the ladder with success. Garchomp is a Pokemon that, you know, it's not really that hard to use. It's a pretty safe pick, right? I mean, obviously 600 outstanding base stats, right? 600 sum of best, 130 attack, 102 speed is very good. And I also thought that the speed tiers would be better in a draft league. A lot of people are using more niche Pokemon, so having a Pokemon that has 100 plus base speed would be a powerful tool, I thought. You know, if I could dish out an incredible amount of power and speed, then I might be able to make up for some of what my team may be lacking later on. So that was kind of the idea. And obviously Garchomp and Togekiss, I mean, the synergy is obvious, right? I mean, you could have Togekiss set up as a follow me user, you know, against opposing dragons. That could be pretty scary. I could allow him to set up with Swords Dance and just dish out huge damage Earthquakes, which Togekiss is immune to with its flying type. I mean, there's a lot you could do with Garchomp. You know, you could run a Scarf Chomp, if you wanted to, right? Really just powerful Pokemon, very great. Obviously, you know, 4 times weakness to ice isn't great, but I just really couldn't pass up that much power. So that's kind of why I went with Garchomp. So then with my 4th pick, we managed to get Machamp for 9 points. So this is a Pokemon that I also think is generally underrated. Not just in this metagame, but generally as a Pokemon, right? So obviously single type fighting isn't the best typing, but let's check out the stats, right? So 130 attack, not bad bulk, right? 90, 80, 85. It's got an interesting speed tier to where it can function under Trick Room, but also, you know, under Tailwind, right? It's if you had a Tailwind setter, if I wanted to run Scarf with max speed, I could do some stuff there. Like, it's a very interesting spot speed-wise to where it allowed me some more flexibility, which has kind of been like the theme for these first few picks, right? So speaking of, you know, flexibility, he has a lot of different sets you can run. So I have run in the past during early Sword and Shield days I ran when everyone was running Conkeldurr. Is that the Pokemon's name? Conkeldurr? Yeah. Everyone was running Conk with Mach Punch and Flame Orb. During that time, I was experimenting and had a lot of success with Machamp with No Guard and Dynamic Punch, right? So he gets a Dynamic Punch, which is a pretty cool move. 100% chance to confuse the target. 100 power, 50% accuracy. Obviously, No Guard lets you not miss any attacks. So that's always a fun set to run. He also gets some decent utility, right? Wide Guard. He gets, I don't know why you'd run Light Screen, but Knockoff is pretty good. I like the priority Bullet Punch against Fairies, who he would have a problem with. So even though he has 55 speed, pretty powerful Bullet Punch coming out to deal with some Fairies that I chip down, right? And honestly, at 9 points, I just felt like the value would be better. And I knew that I would have a point problem at some point here. So I really like the value there. I like what this Pokemon can do for my team. And yeah, I think it'll synergize well with my other Pokemon. We'll see, I guess, right? So then after that, I started to think about my next pick, right? I saw my Milotic was available. And, I didn't go into the draft thinking like, wow, like I'm going to take Milotic, such good value. But just looking at my team at the time, I felt like I was lacking a certain level of bulk. Garchomp has those 4 times weaknesses. Even though his defensive stats aren't terrible, it's not that hard to bring him down, right? Especially if I'm running a Life Orb or something to chip damage. Garchomp would be pretty easy to take down. Togekiss obviously can be pretty bulky. Gengar is just a glass cannon, not very survivable at all. Machamp has a lot of weaknesses, right? Like Psychic types would probably destroy him, Fairies. So I really felt like Milotic would provide me with not only a water type, which would provide me with some good switching opportunities. This team's pretty weak to ice right now with Togekiss and Garchomp. Having Milotic in the back to switch into, there's ice resistance, which is kind of nice. There's a few different sets you can run with Milotic too. You could run the Hypnosis Coil set, which is annoying to play against. This is a Pokemon that I despise playing against. Not one that I've particularly used a lot, but I definitely have tried it out on teams in the past. And I think in this format, where a lot of people are going to have underpowered Pokemon, I think the potential for this Pokemon to really just set up and be unkillable is going to be scary, right? That's going to be something that teams are going to have to prep for. And, obviously competitive is a great ability against Intimidate users, which were a hot commodity in the draft. A lot of people went for some lower tier Mons just because they had Intimidate. So I think having this Pokemon, even just in the draft screen, like the pre-game screen, can defer some people from bringing in those Pokemon. So yeah, I thought Milotic, once again, 14 points, so pretty heavy hitter, but I was going for a top heavy team. It's a Pokemon I'm somewhat familiar with. I know it can be good. I know how to use it. So yeah, I thought that was a good addition to the team. So here's where I think my draft wasn't as strong, right? So these 5 picks are pretty scary to play against. I only had 30 points left. I knew at this point I wanted like only 7 or 8 Mons that I would actually bring. I knew I'd be punting a few picks at the end. So, I was looking at the options here. There was a lot of things that were crossing my mind. But generally, I just wanted good value at this point. And I think that was partially my downfall, is I might have looked too hard into the value and not enough into what my team actually needed. So next up, I picked Moltres. So let's put him in here. Moltres. So Moltres suffers from some bad typing, I think, right? So obviously 4 times weak to rock, weak to water and electric. Those are pretty popular and good offensive types. And when you combine that with the fact that I already have Togekiss, right, and Garchomp, which are weak to ice, right? I have Milotic and Togekiss, which are weak to electric. In hindsight, maybe I would have went a different direction. Maybe this is something I can fix in free agency and trades, but for now, I think this Pokemon still has a lot going for it, right? So, the stats are very good. It has 125 special attack, 90 speed, which is pretty decent for this format, I think. Defenses aren't excellent, but, it's respectable at least. I think really this Pokemon just suffers from bad typing and its limited move pool. So, I mean, you could do some cool stuff with Moltres. Maybe if you had, you could put, it gets Hurricane, so it could be possible to bring into like rain teams or teams that want to have Rain Dance up. But then again, that water weakness in rain with the water boosted attack is never great. It has Roost, which, could be interesting. It has spread moves like Heat Wave. It gets Will-O-Wisp if I want to do some like fast attack stuff. I think the fire coverage is good for my team. I mean, it fits my theme of like a powerful Pokemon. I don't really know if I've ever used Moltres a lot, but I can appreciate the idea of it. And we'll see how it plays out, right? Will I bring Moltres to a lot of matches? I think the potential is there depending on the matchup. And I think that's something I have to learn as far as, this draft league and this season as like a learning experience for me is like, how do you draft a team while looking at all the factors, right? Points, weaknesses, composition, synergy. So we'll see how the Moltres plays out. That was not a pick I was as confident in as the rest, but I think it still has the potential to be good just given how powerful it is. And that's kind of the theme with my team, right? Is that I have a very powerful core that, you will be prepared for because you don't expect me to bring Bidoof and Magikarp and all those other people, but, whoever I bagged. But the potential is there for Moltres to put in some work in the right matchup. So I kind of liked the value at 11, just given his stats, honestly. So, all right. So then I had two more picks that I wanted to do with these 20 points. And I noticed something while I was like looking through the Pokemon. Is that Ditto was available at 7 points. So this is a Pokemon I've used before to varying amounts of success. And I think Ditto really shines in metagames where you have heavy hitters that, are obviously it's good against dragons, right? You run a Scarf Ditto against a Garchomp, you could take it out with Dragon Claw, or you run it into a Duraludon and then, or a Salamence or something, Latios. The potential's there for it to be good in this meta, but I think what I liked most about this pick is that at 7 points, it would give me a Pokemon that I would actually bring to certain matchups. At this point, I had my like core of 6 Pokemon, and I just wanted to give myself flexible options so that I wasn't completely left in the dark. Like, okay, these are my 6 Pokemon, you know exactly what's coming. I had to throw some curveballs in with these last couple picks to get me some mons that would alter opponents' planning and also provide me with utility that I was missing. So I think Ditto could provide that niche for me. I don't see myself bring this Pokemon every week, obviously. I mean, I feel like Ditto in general is kind of a Pokemon that needs to have a good matchup in order for it to be effective. So we'll see how I'm able to use it. I'm kind of excited to see if I can decide to bring it some days and put in some work. We'll see what happens. I don't know. But at the value of 7, I thought it was pretty good. So then lastly, Butterfree. So this Pokemon, this is another pick that I'm not exactly too confident. So I think at this point in the draft, I realized my mistake, right? So I'm looking at my team now and I'm like, okay, I got all these weaknesses. I also, I would love an electric type. I would love a grass type. I would love a steel type. But I only had one pick, and I only had 10 points left to spend on one Pokemon. And I did want to make the most of my points. So I felt that Butterfree provided me with value, right? So even though Butterfree does a lot of what Togekiss does, as far as like, it's a redirector, could be used as a utility Pokemon. I liked that it would just provide me another option to bring to games, right? So it gets Tailwind, which is also important, I think, to why I picked it. So I realized that, my only really form of speed control is Trick Room on Gengar, and I don't really want to be clicking Trick Room most of the time, given the speed of my Pokemon. So if I have Butterfree on the team, it could help against other Tailwind teams that would give me trouble, or, maybe I could lead a Butterfree with Sash into a Trick Room team so that I could run Sleep Powder and just be a threat. And I think at 10 points, Butterfree provides me with the option, right? Obviously not a Pokemon that I'm going to bring every time, but I think the opportunities will arise throughout the season where I might feel like I need, I need what Butterfree brings to the table. It's kind of like you could say it's a gimmicky Pokemon, but it's got a lot going for it, right? The tools, Sleep Powder with pretty good accuracy from Compound Eyes. Rage Powder is obviously, redirection is the name of the game in these, VGC metagames. So, yeah, and we'll see how it goes. I'd give my draft like maybe a B minus, C plus rating. I think I started off pretty strong and I didn't necessarily finish off the way I wanted to, but I'm excited to see how I can make this work. I think a lot of people will look at this team and say, it's very top heavy, obviously, really strong Pokemon at the top, but, a lot of weaknesses, right? If you look at the types down here, I have no resistances to electric, ice, flying, psychic, and rock. And some of those are, obviously popular and very strong offensive types. So I think in order for me to have success with this team, I'm going to have to play well in certain matchups. But I also think that this team has the potential to just outpower opposing teams. A lot of people that went with a lot of like lower tier Pokemon in like the 7 to 9 point range that they're going to be bringing to a lot of matches may just not be able to handle the amount of power I have here, right? So Togekiss, Gengar, and Garchomp are incredibly strong hitting and valuable Pokemon. Milotic may be a hard wall for some teams that are not prepared to breach. Machamp provides me with a lot of utility, a Trick Room option. This team has some stuff going for it, so I'm not going to count myself out, but I like that I stuck to my strategy and I was able to kind of put something together that I'm going to be comfortable using, and we'll see how it goes. I'm excited to play some matches against you lovely folk. But, yeah, I think that'll pretty much wrap it up. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll make some more content at some point. I like doing this kind of stuff, so we'll see how it goes. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time.